So, even dogs sometimes have busy days, and that's what I'm involved in, a busy day. So I had to take time out from my busy schedule, and I had to make one quick entry because I saw where Joe Rogan blew up the entire, he nucleared, blasted his own Joe Rogan experience, because Joe was saying that Joe got involved with some fake news, and he was disseminating a little bit of a fake news situation. Joe was on his podcast, and he said, down in Australia, they're not going to let people wipe their asses anymore because their toilets swirl around the opposite way like they do up here in America, and so the toilet paper doesn't go down so good. So they're not going to let them wipe their asses anymore. They're gonna make them all use bidets. And Joe Rogan said, because the swirl goes the opposite way down in Australia, they're going to start making them use bidets. But you know what this really is? This is government overreach. They're going to make everybody in Australia use bidets because it's related to COVID. It's like a COVID government. And it's where it started with COVID, that they're going to dictate to you. And now they're going to dictate to you, you can't wipe your ass anymore. You can't use toilet paper anymore. You have to use a bidet. And let me tell you something that's un-American, And Joe didn't realize, he's talking about Australia, and one of his workers said, hey, Joe, it might not be un-American, but it's not in America, it's in Australia. You're talking about the story, is centralized in Australia. It's an Australian story. He goes, hey, you can be just as un-American in Australia as you can be in America. And if it's un-American, it's un-American. That's just what I'm trying to say. It's un-American, and it's related to the COVID. First, they wanted to make us do masks, and it's related to the vaccine. They want to dictate that we have to do a vaccine. You can't work. It's a government overreach. The government's telling people in Australia, you can't, because the toilet bowl swirls the opposite way. It's too risky to try to put some toilet paper in there. The government's telling you have to use bidets now. And Joe's like, this is just, it's like they're trying to hunt the people who don't want to, they're trying to persecute the people who don't want to have masks or do, this is Dr. Fauci's trying to have a COVID governmental takeover. This is all what I'm talking about. It's all interconnected. It's all related. And then Joe's like, Joe's like, let me look it up here. He's like, oh, wow, Joe's like, hey, can you look it up for his friend? He's like, and they were trying to prove a point. They were trying to say, that they weren't going to let him use Charmin, and they weren't going to let him use any of the, Bounty or Bounty Fair or whatever it was called for your soft butt wiping. And they couldn't find it. And Joe's like, oh my goodness gracious. Joe's like, please, Joe, please. Joe was like, please don't let this be fake news. Joe's like, oh my God, no, it's got to be here. Joe's going, it's got to be here. This has got to be a real story because it ties in with everything I've been talking about. Everything that the Joe Rogan experience is founded on is that it's a government overreach, and it's going to be a COVID thing, and they're going to take your masks, or they're going to make you wear a mask. They're going to make you get a vaccine. It's government. It's government taking over, and they're taking over on the heels of the COVID. We can't find it. Joe's like, I can't find it. And it turns out that what Joe Rogan and the Joe Rogan experience, the reason it blew up is because the truth of the matter is Joe revealed himself to be a purveyor or a peddler of fake news. And, Joe is always trying to say, this or that or this thing, other's fake news. But it turns out that Joe is a trafficker or a trader. Joe is touting fake news. He is a disseminator or a spreader. He disperses fake news. So that's what you have to realize about. That's what you have to realize about Joe Rogan. Okay, that Joe is a disseminator of fake news. But that's the whole problem for Joe. The reason it's a big problem for Joe is because before you become a purveyor or a peddler of the fake news, before you tout fake news or disseminate it, you have to go and you have to be a consumer. They call a consumer of fake news. You have to go and you have to be a vendy or a patron. You have to ingest, or you metabolize, or you insert, you devour. You assimilate, you partake of the fake news. But it can't be just any old fake news. First you become if you're a purveyor, first you have to become a consumer. And if you are a consumer, you have to be a shopper. You have to be searching because you want just that right fake news. You want to purvey the fake news. You want to browse and hunt around. You want to cast around or forage for that kind of fake news that you're looking for. The kind of fake news, because you want it to have a conclusion. You're not interested in the scientific modeling. It's that thing that thing you do when what is it? What is that word? I can't think of that word. What describes interpreting evidence in such a way as to reach a desired conclusion? So that's what you have to cast about for. You need that fake news that interprets the evidence in such a way as to reach the desired conclusion that you already have. And that is the thing that blows up the Joe Rogan experience. Joe's whole thing is based on motivated reasoning. See, Joe likes to do that motivated reasoning where what you're trying to do is you have a desired conclusion that you've already chosen, that you already believe in, and then you try to interpret your entire world, based on coming to that answer. So, as you forage or as you cast about for the fake news that suits your purposes, as you are a vendee or a patron of the fake news, then you have to get the right fake news to begin with. So then as you become a purveyor or a peddler, a disseminator of the fake news, it's the right fake news, and that's what you're happy with. And that's the thing that Joe does now. Joe, he has a scientific modeling problem where it's kind of like his hair follicle problem. Joe has a scientific modeling problem and a hair follicle problem, but it's okay. Joe's a nice guy, and he does his thing, Joe, he says this cannot be fake news in the podcast. Joe's, you can hear him say, "Oh my God, if this is fake news, then it destroys everything I believed in. It tears away at the foundation of my conspiracy theories and everything that I'm trying to sell everybody on. I've got millions of followers, and it all turns out it's a bunch of horse shit." It's all based on a bunch of, I'm a, whatever. When I make fun of myself and say I'm a radio clown, a rodeo radio clown, it turns out that I really am. I'm a moron. That I cast about for the fake news that I want to interpret or become the answer, and then I disseminate it, and that's really all I am, is a disseminator of fake news. And it turns out Joe, he's a big-time disseminator of fake news.